Hello and welcome to Spend Time in the Meeting, Not Scheduling It. Save time with Microsoft Bookings and Find Time. These are probably a couple applications that you may or may not be familiar with, and I'm excited to share them with you today because there's a lot of power in these tools that dynamically integrate with what you're already doing with Microsoft 365. By the way, my name is Nathan Austin. I'll be leading you through the session today, and behind the scenes is producing Jonathan. Thanks, Jonathan, for helping out. A couple housekeeping notes really quick. If you have some Q&A, please go ahead and post them in the Q&A chat, and we will answer them either throughout or at the end of the session. But one of the things I always like to hit on to start is, what are some of the quick takes? What are you going to get from today's session? Well, first of all, there is a difference between Bookings and Find Time other than just the name. I'm going to show you some of the reasons why Bookings might be the right fit for you or why Find Time might be the right fit for you. So you'll come away with a clear understanding of the difference. Two, either way, how you can save time using whichever tool fits your need, or both tools if they have different purposes that fit multiple needs that you and your team might have. Finally, one of the things I'm excited about is both of these tools are ones that don't take a lot of time to figure out. So you could start using them today if you feel they could actually help you address some of the challenges around scheduling meetings that you or your team might have. So those are the quick takes. If you want to learn about those things, stay tuned because we will cover all that today in the problems we're going to solve and the demonstration. So here's what we're going to cover in the meeting today. So first of all, the purpose of this session is to help you save time scheduling meetings. First of all, I know a lot of us probably struggle with saying, I have too many meetings already, but let's at least make the experience as easy as possible, right? So that's one of the things we're going to hopefully cover today, and some of the challenges and nuances that busy individuals have when they're trying to coordinate meetings and just the time-consuming aspect of scheduling meetings versus spending time in them. Not that we're advocating spending more time in meetings, but and meetings are one of those things that we all have. So let's again try and make them as easy as possible. Then we're going to cover some of the common problems that are associated with scheduling meetings and the different types of meeting scheduling that happens, as well as what is the client experience, or what is if there's an external stakeholder participant, what's their experience and how might you be able to improve that experience too. Finally, we're going to demonstrate the two tools, Bookings and Find Time, to give an example of how they work and illustrate some of the differences between them. Then we'll wrap it up with some Q&A and some next steps and some suggestions if you have any. So before we get going, I always like to cover 1 minute about MyTech. We are a business and technology consulting organization that works with small and medium businesses. Our desire is to help you implement a proven IT strategy that we know can deliver proven, reliable, consistent results for our clients. Ultimately, we hope to remove IT challenges from you so that you can focus on the things that you're great at, and all the other business challenges that we have running an organization, being more adaptable to those things in the future. So working together with our proven IT strategy and aligned with your goals, our clients can achieve 4 times more value and productivity from their IT investments. If you'd like to learn more about that, we'd love to have a conversation with you. Raise your hand, give us a shout. But that's not why you're here today, so let's move on to the content. So one of the things that we always try to include in our sessions is, what is the problem we're trying to solve? Because the more clear you are about the problem you're trying to solve, very often the more evident the solution becomes. So that's so as some of these resonate with you less or more, think about that as we go through the demonstration to help you understand which one of these tools, if either of them, might help you solve the problem that you're trying to solve, or help you solve the problem you're trying to solve. So first of all, one of the challenges that I know people have is coordinating multiple schedules. I know if any of you are like me, when I get an email that has multiple people on it and the request is basically, hey, we probably need to have a joint conversation, whether it's via in-person meeting or just a virtual one, I struggle and I almost want to roll my eyes, not because I'm upset about it, because I'm like, this is going to take me so much time to try and coordinate it and go back and forth. And if you're like, also, there's many people in our organization, including myself, as well as a lot of the busy folks listening, that you probably have multiple people that might be attempting to schedule time on your calendar. And inevitably, sometimes what happens when multiple people are scheduling is that you might say, hey, I'm available at these times. And by the time someone gets back to you and says, oh, that sounds great, I'd love to schedule this time, somebody else has already booked the time because they were also trying to find time on your calendar. So that's just some difficulties. And so one of the things we're going to show you today is how to address both of those in a simple way. Also looking at internal and external participants. There's reasons why you might choose either one of these tools for internal or external stakeholders, or a combination of the above. And it's just something that is definitely a challenge, especially when, if it's external participants, you don't have the benefit of being able to have shared visibility to their calendar availability. So that's something that we'll show today, again, being able to see that as well as not see that relative to the different capabilities here. Also, one of the other components that I feel is challenging is can these tools help us with the multiple steps it really takes to scheduling a meeting? Sometimes the back and forth that happens, once there is an agreement on the time, getting that schedule done, because maybe you're busy in the middle of something, and so it takes you a while to get back to actually saying, oh, I see you responded, and actually scheduling it. Or if a client is trying to request time, and maybe they have the ability to schedule that because they have access or somehow availability to schedule versus having to request it and go back and forth and schedule. So there's multiple ways that we're talking about here to address potentially eliminating some of the manual, at least some of the manual tasks associated with scheduling meetings. The other thing that, as I touched on there, is real-time response. When someone has said, this is the meeting time I want, whether it be, and we'll show you both of these with find times and bookings, regardless of which method, there's real-time response and real-time scheduling, meaning it happens nearly instantaneously versus having the correspondence delay, or, if you're in another conversation or you're busy or whatever, on PTO even, being able to actually get those real-time response. The other thing is about the client or customer experience. What is their experience as far as if they're trying to schedule time? If you're trying to work with an external vendor or client or customer, what are some ways to make that easy for them and give them a better experience in scheduling meeting and finding time to schedule with you and have important conversations? No, that's with you or your team. And finally, for those of you who have common appointments, this could be just like a networking coffee meeting. This could be an initial consultation that you often have with potential new clients or customers. Maybe it's a common assessment conversation that you have that has a specific amount of time that you actually bill for and charge your clients or customers for. Is there ways that you can set those things up if they're common execution, and being able to identify who can execute those and be able to potentially schedule those based on calendar availability? There's self-service options. Now, there's lots of different industries that this might apply to, and this could even be something that's an internal department that needs to work with other internal departments too, where saying, hey, maybe there's a review process, or maybe there's a consultation request, or maybe there's a reporting analysis, something that, with finance team or something like that. Just thinking about some common self-service appointments that are common things that you have in your organization, or repeat instances in your organization. That not going to apply to everyone, but for those that it will, bookings could be a real time saver for your organization. I gave you a little hint there that we're going to talk about bookings relative to that. But without further ado, let's dig in to the demonstration for bookings and find time. So I'm going to move on to that and hit get away from that. So let's start with bookings. How do you find it? So if you notice, I've opened up my browser and I've gone to office.com and I've authenticated. So again, just kind of showing that I'm just at office.com. So if you ever log into office.com, if you're not familiar with it, it's where you'll have access to all of the applications that are available to you that are licensed to you as an individual in your organization. So bookings is not a very common one, so most likely you're not going to see it here on the list of applications on the left-hand pane. However, if you click up on the waffle, which many people are familiar with now, click on the waffle, you may find bookings here. If you don't find it, you can click on the all apps and it'll actually show it in alphabetical order, and bookings will be one of the top choices. So I'm going to click on bookings. So now we've opened up my account for bookings. Now, I am not going to go through all of the setup stages with you today. I've already set up a lot of these details, because if I went through it today, it would take up all the time that we have available. So I'm just going to walk you through some of the key components so you get a feel for what bookings can do if this applies to you. So first of all, when you go to bookings, if you don't have anything, there's not going to be anything set up here, but it starts with your calendar. And so what I like about the calendar is that I'm actually in my demo account that I set up for Minnesota, and I'll illustrate that why I designated Minnesota later. because I'm going to show you how to copy this into a different location or another department or a different team or different things like that. So, but the best way to start is really you can just go to settings. And when I click on settings, this is where you have all of the options to set up your bookings calendar or create multiple calendars for you. So I like to start with, I actually like to start with the business information kind of from the bottom up. Actually, I'm going to hit business information. I'm going to go back up to staff. But the reason why I like to start with business information, because it allows you to define what are your basic business details. So for instance, what's the name or what's the name of your calendar that you're going to create? You know, do you have an address, a phone number, a URL that you want to show on? It's going to actually create a web page for you to allow people to schedule. Do you have a privacy policy URL? Do you have, now I didn't put one in, but if you have one, put that there. What type of business are you? You can choose the different types of businesses. Again, depending on what you want to choose and whether or not you have certain currency, because maybe you're going to try and bill for some of these services, maybe you won't, but some basic information. You also have the opportunity to input a business logo. We just put in our icon here, our MTP icon. You can change the logo or delete the logo here. You also have the opportunity to define your business hours. So I've already done that for this demo as an example, but then what I did is I actually defined the staff that I want to be part of this. So I went in here and I've added new staff. I'm going to illustrate by adding a new staff person here, someone who's not already on Corey Wolf. We're going to add Corey. This is his demo account. I'm going to make her a viewer, make him a viewer. I could add a phone number for him if I needed to. And then this also allows me to choose whether or not if Corey is selected for a service, that whether or not he would be notified. And I'm just going to say use business hours, and I'm going to hit save changes. So now I just added a team member to the list. But as you can see, this is where you can go to manage the staff people that you're going to be creating time or creating these services around and assigning them to the different service types. So adding staff, this is where you can edit them and choose their settings if you need to do that. Again, I've already entered a lot of their information to start relative to the demo, but if you need to edit that, this is where you can do it, and you can change those settings that you just saw when I was adding staff in the first hand. Okay, so let's move over to services. So here is the way Microsoft looked at this is that if it, again, common services or common instances, I mean, again, this could also be something that, like, if you're trying to book time with a networking partner and maybe have a coffee meeting with a colleague, well, maybe you schedule just, hey, coffee meeting, right? And the time you make available is like 7:30 to 8:30 in the morning or 7:30 to 9 in the morning or something like that. You could do that with this. So it's not necessarily a service per se, but it's you're defining the type of meeting or the type of appointment that could be added to your calendar. So I'm going to click on services. And so what I did, again, I'm using the example of an IT services company. Common things that we do is we have an introductory meeting and we have a technical review. I'm just generically referring to those two items. But what I can do is I'm going to click on the technical review here, and I'm going to show the edit service. Now, you can also add new service, and that's how you can create all these things. But I've started with some defaults here to kind of give you some examples. So hit on the editing service. What do I call it? Give me a little description. This typically lasts for 3 hours, and it's a billable event, which, again, you don't have to choose that, but for this example, I chose to do that. Now, this one, it's not, I chose to say not online meeting because this is going to be an in-person on-site review. And I define the duration. And I can also, which I think is cool, define a buffer time. So for instance, I want to allow an hour, I've chosen for this example, an hour on either side to be able to say, well, I need to allocate for some drive time on either side of this equation. So that way it can actually hold time on your calendar, make sure that it creates time on your calendar for that buffer time. If you want to charge for these services, how do you want to do it? Fixed fee, hourly, free, etc. And then you could choose an hourly rate if you'd like. Again, description, the service typically lasts for 3 hours. And then you can choose a maximum number of attendees if you'd like. And again, these are just some of the settings that I like to set. Now, once you've started the basic services, what are the availability options? You know, time increments of an hour. You can set lead time. So like, I don't want to schedule this. If it's this morning and I'm trying to plan my day, I don't want to schedule something for this afternoon. I need at least a 24-hour lead time. You can change that, of course, but I also don't want to schedule any further out than 90 days. Again, just using this as an example, book when staff are free, and you know, this is where you can say, or custom hours that you can define. So for instance, that networking example, you could define custom hours that recur weekly. You could also set different availability for date ranges, but this is just an example. The other thing, you can assign staff. So if you as you define this service, maybe not all your team members can execute this service. So I had to choose Gerald and myself, and I'm going to add Corey to the equation because Corey is actually another person that can add. So now I'm going to go ahead and add Corey to that equation, save changes. I'm going to click back in here and edit service so I can show you a couple other things. After I've assigned staff, now, and again, I also toggle this here to say allow customers to choose particular staff for booking. I could turn that on or off, but here's where I can turn that on. You can also define custom fields and define on the page, and I'll illustrate this, what's required. I actually like to require a phone number because if you require a phone number, you can actually then enable SMS texting notifications. And this is also where you can define, a custom field or select a custom field. So I've actually already created this, and I said, please tell us a little about what you're hoping to achieve in this meeting. So I'm going to choose that, and I'm going to make it required. All right, and save change. I'm going to click on reminders and notifications. I can notify them. I can also set up, an email reminder one day before. We look forward to seeing you. A reminder, do you have an appointment? I can set up these things however you choose. All right, again, I'm moving along a little fast, but I want to give you the illustration of not the setup, but how it actually works. All right, and then I've done the same thing for an introductory meeting. I've chosen different staff members, and I've chosen a different custom field. Would you like us to provide lunch? I did make it required. But just to give you an illustration that this is a 1 hour meeting not billable, this is a 3 hour meeting that's billable, and I have technical resources assigned here, and I have non-technical resources assigned here. So now that you've defined your services, this is also where you can define the custom fields that you get to choose in those services. I did that a little bit reverse order, but this is where you can add that, and then it shows up as an option when you're defining your services. Finally, now that you've defined your staff, your services, your custom fields, and your business information, you can select here on your bookings page. This is where you get to define what your booking page can do. Is it available to anyone? Or is it available to anyone, just people in your organization, or actually don't publish it at all? You can also then control, for instance, you probably do not want it indexing in a search engine. So I would probably check that box. It's a good one. You could also require passwords if you wanted. Again, there's a bunch of things you can customize in your page as far as, just color, just if you want to display your logo or not, if you've uploaded that, and time zone that makes sense for you. And you could choose the time zone in, again, on the bookings page. So after you defined all that, let me show you what your booking page looks like. So you can either copy, this is just copying a link, which I'm going to do, copy the link. I could share it via email, or if you have a page on, if you have like a web page, and maybe there's a navigation page on your website, you say, hey, schedule time with us. You could embed your bookings page into your web page so it looks like it's a part of your web page. So what I'm going to do is I copied this link. I'm going to come up here. I'm actually going to go to a different browser just for the sake of illustration. I'm going to paste that here so that it should show me, here's what a client or a customer would see. They would see, again, I've uploaded our logo. Here's the name of the calendar. I can come up here and I can choose a service. It tells me that I'm choosing to bill for this service. This one's actually free. And notice it says select a service to see available dates and times, because they have different people associated with them and different times associated with them. So if I select an introductory meeting, now these things are available, and I can choose, I want to choose Jonathan here, and then I can say, well, let's see, I want to schedule that for October 5th. Here are the times that Jonathan's available. I want to do 11:45, and now it's going to ask me to fill in my information. So here we go. I'll just use my work address. Need to select. So again, I selected a phone number, so it's going to make me do that, and I can enable text messages or not, which is kind of cool. And then here's that optional customized question. Would you like us to provide lunch? Yes. And notice this is not optional, this is optional, right? Because this is optional, but everything else is required. So now I've selected the type of meeting I want, chosen the staff, picked the time, added my details that are required, and some of the custom information when you talk about putting your address and phone number and URL, this is where that shows up in the bottom of your booking page. So I'm going to hit book, and now that's going to thank you for booking with us. It actually, here's your meeting, and I can reschedule or cancel, or I can do a new booking. All right, so that is bookings, and how it automatically schedules that session on the calendar and I'll give you an example. Actually, I'll pull back to the browser. When I go to the calendar, this is an example of an introductory meeting. The one I booked was actually this one here, introductory meeting, and this is one for Gerald. So notice it allows for overlapping time because this is the one I scheduled for Jonathan, right? And this is the one I scheduled. No, I don't want to cancel the meeting. And this is what, it's not what I meant to do. And this is one I scheduled for Gerald. So this is an example of you have visibility to the shared calendar, but it also sends a calendar invite to the respective team members. All right, so that's a high level of bookings and how that looks in the bookings calendar, you know, seeing your page. If you set new booking, it'll just pop you back to the same page and you start all over with selecting a service, et cetera, et cetera. So that's for those of you who might have want to publish something or share something where you have common types of meetings you have, and you can set some availability and allow people to just self-serve as opposed to even asking you if that's what you want to do, whether it's billable or not. So that might work for some folks, but the last thing I wanted to show you really quick is that let's say you've set all this up and let's say you have another location or a different team, or you want to set this up for individual team members for their own self-service. When you come up here, you can choose to say new bookings calendar, and you can create from scratch or you can copy. So I want to say I want to clone this one, and I want to clone all of it but the staff because I'm going to choose different staff and hit continue. And I'll say this is, say, our Colorado location. Put that in there. Business IT support, same. I could add a different logo if I wanted, move that along, and I'll just, again, keep that the same, create calendar. So now it's copying all of the settings that I just had spent a lot of time doing in my initial calendar, and if I need to copy it or clone it for another location, it allows me to, or again, another location, another team, or an individual team member, it's already there. So get started. So I'm just going to go here. It's going to show me that I have this drop-down option. I've got the Minnesota location and I've got the Colorado location, and a lot of the items, the services are the same. Now staff, I need to add them because I selected not to include staff, but otherwise things are, the booking page of course is different. Custom fields are the same. Again, all the things copied over. So that's one of the things that if you are thinking through doing this and that's applicable to you, being able to clone settings can be extremely valuable because all you'd have to do potentially is add or augment the staff that are part of that bookings calendar. Okay, so that's a high level of bookings. I know I went fast, but it's a lot of information. And if I would have shown you how to set up all the little idiosyncrasies, it would have taken too much time. So hopefully it gives you a feel though, how you can set it up and then how you can potentially enable internal or external constituents or stakeholders the ability to schedule time on your calendar. All right, now let's look at Find Time. So Find Time is an add-in. It's not actually an app like Bookings is, meaning it's not it's not in the office.com settings. Like so I go to office.com, you're not going to find in the waffle, if I click on all apps, you're not going to find Time. It's not there. So that's like, whereas Bookings is here, you're not going to find Time there. So the way you find Time is you could do a simple search, Find Time at Microsoft. The first one that's going to pop up is Find Time. If you click on that, it'll give you install it for free. Or the other thing that I like to show is that you can open up Outlook, and if you click on the add-ins, now I already have it installed, but I'm going to click on add-ins to illustrate the point, and you could say Find Time. This is it. Click on that, and it allows you to install. Now, again, I've already added it, but you can just click here and it installs it. So once you've installed Find Time, what it does is it gives you this little plugin, and you'll see it in different places. So I'll give you an example. So Jonathan sent me a message. So I'm going to open this up. Jonathan sent me a message, says, hey, it's been a while since we talked last. Do you have a time next week to catch up? So what I can do, notice it says reply with meeting poll. So I'm going to hit reply with meeting poll. And what it's going to do is it's going to, this little plugin, it says, so Jonathan said something next week. So I'm going to go to next week. Go to next week. That allows the month. And it shows me some availability. So I'm going to choose the 6th, let's say 8 a.m. And I really, for my meetings like this, if I'm trying to catch up with a colleague, I like to do them first thing in the morning. So I'm not going to give the rest of the day. I'm just going to choose the ones that I've got, kind of early morning, first thing in the morning. So now it's shown that I've 4 times are selected. I'm going to click next. So Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, those are the times I've selected. Now I'm going to click add to email. And so it popped in a reply to Jonathan with the find time poll saying, hey, Jonathan, thanks for sending a note. To catch up. Love to catch up next week. If you wouldn't, choosing which one works best for you. See you next week. Okay, so this is an example. Now what I'm going to show you is once I send this, I believe it will block times on my calendar. Remember when I said how many times you're trying to schedule something, and I've said to Jonathan right now that I'm available at this time, but what if somebody else is scheduling time on my calendar and it takes Jonathan a day or two to get back to me? So once I click send, what I'm going to do, I'm going to show you. So use the find time poll, click send. I'm going to close the email, and I'm going to show my calendar. And so the times that I selected were next week. So if you notice, hold availability meet next week. Because I created that poll, it tentatively is holding the time on my calendar until Jonathan actually selects the time that works for him. So again, how many times does that happen? You send a request and you end up going back and forth and back and forth. But the nice thing is it automatically places a hold on your calendar, which you could choose to not do that if you'd like, by the way. But now I'm going to have Jonathan's got the email and he's going to select it. And so I usually will see a notification pop in once Jonathan has selected the time. But while you're doing that, this is what Jonathan sees. So as Jonathan is opening that up, I sent a test. This is a separate one, for example. But if I click on these options, this is what someone with whom you're using or sending a find times request happens, is that you get a little web page like this that says, hey, which would you like to do? This one works for me. Yes. This can work too. No, these two don't work. So this is what your guests, if you will, see, or I could choose a different time and then I can finally hit vote. If other people are on the meeting request, you'll see some of their requests as well. And then the nice thing is once the polling has reached consensus, it'll automatically actually send out that calendar invite. So I'm hoping that in the time for me showing you this, Jonathan has been able to select his choice, and we will have reached consensus, and the meeting that I requested for Jonathan or that he requested of me will be sent. So I'm going to hit vote. That's an example of what your colleague would see. And so now I got this notification that says, hey, an attendee has voted. JF and MTP365 has voted on your poll, and this is what he chose. He chose just this time works for him. Great. And then I got a notification that says, hey, your poll has reached consensus. Find time has scheduled your meeting based on poll results, and a meeting invite has been sent to all attendees. So how great is that? All I had to do is reply with a poll. The attendees or my guest was able to vote, and all in the same time, I received, and I'll go to my calendar next week. Notice the times that I had held on my calendar are now gone, and the only time that Jonathan selected, or if other attendees had selected the same time and it reached consensus, it would schedule that too. So I could be in the middle of doing plenty of other things without having to worry about coordinating that time. The last thing that I'll show you here really quick when you're looking at find time is when you actually do find time, you hit sign in, it takes you to a find time dashboard. And this is where if you have a poll that you've sent, they'll show up here. So notice this is the completed one. So this is the one that Jonathan and I just corresponded about. But if you have an open poll, this is where you can view any of the open requests that you might have sent out, because if you want to edit or cancel them or delete them, this is the place from where you can edit them or delete them or remove them. So that's a nice little tip to know that this is where you can actually get rid of a poll. Like maybe they don't reply, or maybe you want to edit it, and this is where you have to go to do it, because you can't just do it right within the email. So it's really easy within Outlook to actually, when you're in the email view, to be able to reply with the meeting poll, or if you click on a new email, you can do new meeting poll here. It pops up find time, and if you have multiple constituents here, it'll actually pull up their calendars. it'll actually start looking at their availability based on the people. Notice you've got the 3 individuals here. It'll actually show you if they're available or not, depending on the people that you have in the to line. Now, if you don't have people that are part of your organization, they're external constituents that you don't have access to the calendar, it won't show you this, but that's a great example of how internally it works great, but it also works for external stakeholders as well. You just don't get their calendar availability view when you're trying to schedule meetings. All right, so that is really what I wanted to cover. There is definitely more, and you might want to dig into that more. However, for the sake of time, I knew that this would be a lot. So bookings. It's a web-based booking calendar. You can actually publish a booking calendar. It integrates with your Outlook, with multiple people in your organization. It gives customers or internal stakeholders, if you'd like, flexibility to choose and self-service the type of meeting or the type of engagement that they like based on common services you get to choose to define. You can automate email and SMS notifications, and it allows you to then schedule and have the flexibility of multiple team members depending on their availability to actually execute the request. So that's one of the things I love about bookings if that applies to your organization. For Find Time, it's a little different. It's an Outlook plugin. It does integrate with calendar resources, but it's really your calendar, and then any internal people will give you availability, but you can also work with external folks. It allows people to vote, which is really great. They get to choose the times that work. It also tentatively and automatically holds time on your calendar, and then once your poll has reached consensus, it'll automatically send out a calendar invite, and it will remove the hold times on your calendar that were originally placed there to hold the time. So depending on what problem you're trying to solve, bookings or Find Time might be a great solution for you. And we hope that this has been valuable and something that you can start using possibly today. So for future events, please follow us or on LinkedIn or subscribe to our YouTube channel. We always post this information here and we also create channels to try and say, hey, these things are related so that you can see corresponding training content back to back if you'd like. If there's anyone that you know that could benefit from this content, please feel free to share it. It's always free. That's one of the reasons why we put it out there. Also, join us for future events, mytech.com/events. We are hosting the next one we're doing in October is actually on the 2022 IT forecast. We're looking at 2 major categories of content that looks into the future for next year as far as things that are going to impact nearly every business in the U.S. And so look forward to that. And of course, at the end of October, we also have our Power User Group session designed for the more technically savvy folks in your organization that goes a little bit deeper into some of the back-end technology of Microsoft 365. We'd love to see you at one of those future events. But until then, thank you for attending today, and let's open it up for some questions. Jonathan, any questions from the audience?
Thanks, Nate. There are no questions at the moment.
All right, that is not uncommon. So I do always save a couple things to go through to illustrate some of the key components. So I'm going to pull up the browser again, and I'm going to show you what this looks like. So because I didn't actually get to show you what an open poll looks like, I'm actually going to create a poll for Jonathan. So I'm going to say this to JF, and I'm going to do a new meeting poll, and I'm going to say the subject here is let's review project X. All right, so now Find Time is loading up. While it's doing that, now if I had multiple constituents, I could put those in here too. Of course, Find Time is nothing like demos. Try new meeting poll. Let's see if we can try this again. Come on, Microsoft. So as it pulls up, I hope it pulls up. One of the things I was trying to be able to illustrate is how that this, all right, well, this is great. It worked initially, but now it's thinking and taking its time. So maybe I need to try and add somebody else. Oh, probably not. It's not. All right, well, what I was hoping to show you is when you go completed, you can actually click into this poll and you can actually edit some of the content of it, right? That's one of the things that I really like about, again, this has already been scheduled, but this is something you could do. You could come in here and basically cancel it or edit it, add attendees or not. It's something that, because when you're in Find Time, it's a little bit of a gotcha. Of course, you're seeing this, but I'll pull up the sent items here to illustrate. So if you're in the sent items, now I sent this to Jonathan, right? So this is, actually, shoot, that's the calendar invite. I sent this to Jonathan. So I'm not able to edit from the email. So that's one of the challenges about Find Time. That's just a little bit of a gotcha. But if you just, it's got a link right here, so that takes you to Find Time. So when you click on that, it'll open up the browser to Find Time. It'll prompt you to log in to access your dashboard, as it says. It's logging me in, and it's giving me access to my dashboard. Again, the only thing I have in there is the completed one that I was illustrating, but that's how you can edit Find Time polls. So that's a little bit tricky, is because to create a Find Time poll, you really end up, it's within the Outlook plugin. So you can, it's from an email or a reply, but to edit it, you have to go to your Find Time dashboard. So that's a little tip that I didn't get to really illustrate in the session, but I always like to hold a little something back just in case to maybe prompt some additional questions. All right, so with that little tip, we can also adjourn, even though the Microsoft it's still loading, so we're just gonna skip that, but you get the idea. I wanted to illustrate how you have to go to Find Time in order to the Find Time dashboard to be able to do that. And again, that's available readily from your email when it says, it says invitation created from Find Time, but you don't actually edit from here. You have to click on Find Time, log into your dashboard, and then you can find the polls, the respective poll that you've created that might be still open, and then edit it from there. All right, with that said, we can adjourn unless there's any other questions that have come through in the meantime.
No other questions. Thanks, Nate.
All right, well, thanks everyone. Make it a great day, and we look forward to seeing you again soon on one of our next sessions.